Yes. Okay, so now we are recording. Welcome everyone. Today, 14th November 2020, and we are going to talk about yet another interesting topic with friends of friends. It is reframing or shifting of perspectives. And today it will be hosted by Pilar, or as we like to call her, Pili. So, Pilar, if you can give a small introduction about yourself and the topic, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. I'm Pili Moreno, I'm Pilar. And basically what I do is that I work with teenagers, as I've been a teacher for 23 years, and I've been constantly studying about psychology issues, brain issues, self-esteem issues, how to help them uh, take their responsibilities and their work and everything in a healthier, happier way that is going to actually serve them. So basically that makes me into a professional motivational speaker. And today we're going to be talking about reframing and shifting your perspectives and why it is so hard to reframe, even though it sounds like such an obvious thing for the people who are not inside the mess. So basically that's what we will be discussing today. And I don't know if you want to introduce yourselves, Jemin.
Hi, my name is Jemin, a cognitive behavioral therapy practitioner, mindfulness practitioner, pursuing my further studies also in psychology. And yeah, I like to marry the psychology and philosophy worlds together. That's about me.
Alessandra.
Okay, I am an English teacher and a psychology teacher. I am working both as an English teacher and as a cognitive behavioral therapist. And I've always been naturally interested in psychological issues, and well, here I am, trying to see how to improve myself and now also how to help my patients.
Thank you, Alessandra. Rashmi?
Yeah, hello, this is Rashmi, and yeah, I am a software engineer, and I'm nowhere related to anything to psychology or something. I mean, not practicing like you guys do. So I just wanted to be a participant and listen to be a part of this conversation. So yeah.
Thank you. KL, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, all of us have been practitioners of different aspects of psychology. I'm an accountant or had been wired as an accountant last 30 years, but I've made that logical choice to actually explore in the field of psychology, and it's been an interesting journey when you actually start applying some of the concepts and come to learn a lot in terms of how you can gain control over a lot of things. As they say, an event is 1% the external stimulus, but 99% is how you react to it. So, an avid student of psychology, for a living, I do management consulting in finance.
Thank you very much. So if you're ready, we can start going through the elements of the session today. Okay, so reframing, shifting your perspective. What is to reframe is to look at something from a different angle. Basically, we can put it like there. So it would be as easy as to move oneself from one spot to the other spot and take a different perspective, yet it ain't that easy. There are many influential aspects that have to do with why sometimes we feel stuck, why sometimes we feel the world on our shoulders, that we can't do things. We look at the solution, all the words of wisdom sound the same. People say, no, the silver lining, you're going to do great. Look at the positive aspect. Positive aspect, I've been ripped off of something that is meaningful for me. How can I look for the silver lining when I am up to here with stuff that doesn't let me even look at my nose? How can I do something? How can I get unstuck? And it has a lot to do with the self-perception. Do I feel I have a control? Do I feel I can do something? Or yes, I can reframe it, but I don't feel like it. And there is also the emotional component that is going to be very, very hard to work through, because the thoughts are put inside a box, and that box is made out of our feelings, where we are feeling the anxiety, the pain, the sorrow, the preoccupation, because maybe I have a lot of debt, or I missed a date line that I had to put up with. And all these things start putting us down and getting us inside this box of thoughts that are bouncing against the wall, with a huge surrounding of emotions that we can't control, that we don't know if we want to feel them, because the thoughts are bouncing at so much speed around us that we can't even understand or give a space to what we're feeling and what we are experiencing. Sometimes it's easy when we are comfortable with an emotion. For example, people who are comfortable with their anger, they can load and they can say and they curse and say horrible things, or bang a wall, or I don't know how people work with their own anger. And that way they can steam off a little bit, and once the energy is out, they can do something. But what happens with the other emotions that all of us have? Maybe if we're angry, we can get angry and scream and whatever. But if it's an introspective emotion that has to do with our self-value, our self-perception, our insecurity, our sadness, the awareness of how small we are in the middle of all the things that are happening in our world, it is above us, and we are stuck, and we cannot reframe because we don't feel. Even though in our minds we are wise, we know things to do, we know people who can help, but we can't reach because we are just inside this oppressive emotion. I don't know if you have any thoughts or experiences you want to share with us about this.
I think, yeah, from, as I always like to say, I'm my first patient, right? So it is, once we have crossed the bridge, so in one of the last discussions that I told the group about my episode of the depression, right? And once we have crossed the bridge, it's very easy to say, look back and say that it's not. But you know, that's where I think what you brought out, Pilar, was very, very important. That it's a very personal thing. For me, if that value holds very dear to me, then the gravity of that situation is very strong. It doesn't allow me to even claim help while I know there is help out there, right? So I think that understanding that it's not from my perspective or not from anybody else's perspective to tell me that this is, oh, see, I have done it, you can do it as well. But the gravity of the emotion which stops me from going ahead and even seeking help or claiming help is immense, and it's a very personal it's a very personal thing, right? It's not something on which anybody else could make a judgment out of, for example. So I understand that thing completely. I couldn't go out and claim help, although I knew there was a help out there, although I know I should maybe, yeah, but I couldn't just go out to claim the help. That's a very interesting thing. Now that I'm passed through it, I can understand the gravity of it, for example.
The ability of looking back, but in the moment,
yes,
what
yes.
happens in the moment? I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts about it. Nope, we're good.
I mean, just a thought, and help to keep me on track. In terms of a formation of self-perception, let us say, with regards to reaching out to help, that Jemin also mentioned, would it also relate at some point to incidents where when one has actually sought help, there has not been help which has come forth, and you are then put in a position where you need to fight your own battles or find a solution. uh, because I've kind of had or been in those situations where you've actually tried to get some sort of help, but nothing really moves. Then you probably take control of the situation or look at it in a different angle, and this goes back to that uh, you know that whole cycle of accepting the situation and then trying to see how you can move on from there.
Yes, accepting the situation is
It's very
quite
difficult to go out and say I need help, right? It could be someone at in a hierarchy in the corporate world, or it could be the patriarch of a family, right?
thank you. Okay, so uh, we have this situation where we feel we don't have much control about what is going in and
Yeah.
going out from us. And at the same time, the other thing that surrounds us, that drives us crazy, has to do with the outside of things, the things that are completely out of our control. Because if we felt that the situation outside us was possible to be controlled by us, then it would be easier for us to look for answers or solutions, or simply let our feelings go out, uh, have their moment, and then recollect ourselves and do something for our benefit. But the outside influences, many people don't take them in account. They say, oh, it is my problem, it is inside of me, I'm going to get past it, or don't tell me anything, I know better. And we start finding that there are many elements of our own character that get in the way of our well-being and happiness. So one of the things we have to think about when we need to reframe is that we have to recognize that we need to reframe. We have to recognize that we are stuck, that we are there. And sometimes it's quite easy. We say, yes, I do have a problem. I need to recognize something, but I can't do anything right now. I can't. I simply can't. It's out of my control. It's out of my perspective. I can change the way I look at things, but it's not going to make the situation any better. It's not going to help me how I feel. So it's pointless. So what the hell? And I don't want to do it anymore. And we can go on and on with excuses, with ways to defend our frail part of the soul from all these negative emotions, from all these uncomfortable thoughts that are driving us crazy. So reframing has a lot to do with pride. Accepting that I am standing on a bomb. The nature of the bomb depends on the nature of the problem, but it's a bomb that is going to go off any moment. So what can I do if I have the pride? So I need to, first I need to recognize the situation, then I need to accept the situation. And once that I recognized the situation and accept it, then I have to see what is true and what is not true about that situation. And this is where CBT comes in.
Yes.
Because we see the problem as we see a book. We see the cover. We see the title of the problem. We see our name as the author of the problem, or the name of our enemy, or however we want to call this circumstance or person. But we don't open the book. So we have to open the book of our problem. We have to look at the index. What are the things that are being affected? Am I being affected in the outside, in my well-being, in my job? Is it in the inside? Am I feeling bad? Or is somebody mistreating me and I have to put up with that? Do I feel I have the tools to confront the situation in a smart way? that is going to help my benefit. And it's very hard because when we have a problem with an equal, I don't know how this sounds in India, but in my country it makes sense. With an equal, I mean a co-worker, your brother, somebody that stands on your level. When we have a problem with our equal, maybe we can smack the person. Maybe we can discuss with the person.
Yeah.
No, really. I mean,
Yeah.
right now we're adults, but you guys, when you were young boys, I bet you punched someone or were punched by someone somewhere along the way. It's inevitable. It's part of nature. With words, with gestures, with hidden vengeances, like I'm going to get even with this person. And then this little problem that instead of reframing it and just putting an end to it, since we don't know how to handle it, we do something exactly, Alessandra, that is going to puff out of control the situation like a little grain of popcorn that suddenly goes boom. And we do something that just makes things worse because we can't reframe, because our emotion took over, because our pride has us there, because we can't pinpoint the situation. We know we have a situation with someone or with some aspect that is driving us crazy, but we need to open that book. We need to really take a first step in saying, I am going to answer 5 questions. And the 5 questions are, what is the problem? What is exactly what's driving me crazy? Who is responsible? Who is responsible for this? How did I get into this mess? Whose responsibility was it? Was it only me or was it somebody else's? Or did I put, because in the end we know it's us, because we put our hopes and our dreams and our expectations on somebody else and we don't take responsibility. And the final question, how can I get this solved? In my mind, in my body, in my soul, how can I solve all of this? If I am able to put the questions with their answers all together, then I start the reframing and the shifting of the perspective, because it's not jumping from black to white. It's, okay, this goes like this. What can I do? Do I need to take some steps? Do I need to call for help? Do I need to cancel some influences? Do I need to still my heart, to have to be brave, to confront whatever is going on here? And it's not that easy. But once we get there and we put the pride in a cage, just sit there for a while. You're not useful here. Just take a rest, take a nap, pride. Get out of my way for a little while. Then looking at this, I need to go for one of the words that have been forgotten in humanity, and that is compassion.
Towards
I
oneself.
didn't know better. Yes, compassion for myself. I didn't know better. If the person did something, was it really because it's a bad person, or it was because the person reacted to something? So I have to be compassionate. I have to get to the side of love. And many people say, oh, you're so corny. Love. What is love good for? Just chick flicks. You know, just movies with Sandra Bullock. That's the only thing love is good for. And we have to go beyond there.
Yeah,
We have to go
lots of
beyond.
meaning behind
What
the
is,
word, yeah. Mhm.
yeah. And love has many faces. And love, I truly believe that love is all around us, shouting their love for us. The trees are shouting their love. The wind is shouting the love. The traditions, the family, the things we do, the things we treasure, everything is permeated by love. And we take it for granted. And then we don't understand that that love that surrounds us is part of us and we're part of it. And we have to work from compassion to gain self-forgiveness. Because if we gain self-forgiveness, the thoughts stop bouncing, the emotions around start getting into their spaces and opening up because they have a place to go. And we need to do that. Once we have the compassion, once we can answer the questions and look at there and open and see the index, and in the index see if there is a chapter that we can work with. Maybe we can work with one paragraph of the whole book. Maybe we can go through the whole book and just finish it. Some processes take more time than we wish. Really, we all want the magic Aladdin lamp with the genie that is going to solve it. The magic wand that is going to clean the house, put everything in its way. The house is the soul and the mind as well. So once we have everything there, then we can start making smarter decisions and we can start reframing the circumstance for our own good. And this has to do a lot with will. We need will to make the changes. We need will to understand where we can stop and somebody else can come in. And we have to recognize ourselves to make a shift in pride, because pride can be very good. Pride can help us give ourselves recognition, but it's like a little child that goes into different stances and different places and doesn't know what it wants to do. So I sit, I see, and once I can start reframing in my mind, I can start reframing in my actions. And if I manage to understand how this process benefits me, I can make little exercise of reframing in the little things that have me uncomfortable. So I can start building a system of reframing in my brain that is going to be reinforced by every action that I do. But this is, and I say it out of my own experience, an everyday practice. Every time the thought comes in, I need to grab that horrible creature and say, what the hell are you doing here? Who invited you into my happiness? I did. Shoo, shoo. And that shoo, shoo has to do with the reframing. Am I going to let somebody win or somebody lose? Like this story that I absolutely adore. It's a Native American story that it's a boy who goes with the elder of the tribe. Mm-hmm. And tells the elder that he feels like there are two wolves inside his heart. And one of them is all goodness and it's helpful and just a number of things. And the other wolf is just driving him crazy and making him violent and do things he regrets. And the fight is very fierce and he doesn't know what to do. And the elder just says, and what do you want? And the boy says, I want to know which wolf is going to win my heart. So the elder just looks at the kid and says, the one you feed. So if we feed the craziness of the moment, if we feed that emotion that spins things out of control, if we feed that, it's going to continue growing. So we have to be aware of which wolf we are going to be feeding. And because we need to feed the right wolf every day, and that is reframing, that is shifting the perspective, that is recognizing what is true and what is not true, and what we can do and what we cannot do. And it takes a lot more courage than we think, because we think that reframing is just changing the thought. It comes from every atom. It comes from every atom. Deciding to grow. I think I'm going to change my mind now. I'm going to grow. Awesome. Do it. Mm-hmm. Good luck. Get on the path and walk. Come on. Get on that path. And oh my God, but it's worth it. It costs a lot, but it's a small price if you're winning your soul, your heart, your mind. It's worth the price. It's pricey, but it's worth it.
Absolutely. When
Okay, I
you
don't know if
start
you have
becoming,
any thoughts on that that you want to share.
definitely, I agree. It is very, very difficult reframing, shifting those perspectives. As a matter of fact, right now I'm working with a client of mine who is caught in a cycle of giving, 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 and worrying and taking care of everybody but herself, and trying to control everything except herself. And it's also caught in a belief of I'm no good, everything I do is wrong, and it's hard. Hey, I've had to go through all that process of growing too, and it's not easy. But as you well said, it's pricey, but the end result is so worth it. Gaining yourself back, not just your heart and your soul, your whole life. Starting to build the life and have the life that you actually want, and starting to be true to yourself instead of trying to fit into what society says or trying to please somebody else, and taking responsibility for your life, for your decisions, for your actions, for those consequences. It's a hard process, but it's worth it. It really is. I totally agree with you. That I went through a lot of pain to get to where I am right now.
Yes.
And and I wish the road had been different, but if that's the road I had to take to get to where I am, well, so be it. I am finally happy with who I am, and happy that I am now becoming the therapist that I always wanted to be, and that I am actually helping people.
Fantastic.
Alessandra, you brought a great point, and this was actually linking back to what I was mentioning earlier. Am I audible? Yeah. So, this client of yours that you did mention, right, that everybody probably approached her for a problem or a solution, and she was taking on too much of it herself, and probably was feeling lost out and all of that. And this is typically the case of, I was mentioning earlier, either in a corporate world, or let's say when you're the patriarch of a family, right? Because of your experience or your position in the particular rung of the ladder, people approach you, right? And you're not given any choice. It's like you're the captain of the team, right? They will come to you. Now, my question was, would this not have also been preceded by the fact that this person was a problem solver, right? I mean, hierarchy is one part of it, but let's say if somebody is going to Alessandra or Pili, right? It's also because they have a feeling in themselves that they're going to be solving their problems, right? So is this something which people can shoo away and say, hey, don't come to me? That's one way of probably looking at shifting a perspective, but that may not be the solution given the fact that this person is in that position, right? Where he or she has to take on the responsibility. It could be a child, it could be a parent to a child, or maybe a team leader or a manager to his staff.
Yeah.
I'm just giving an example.
Yeah. In this case, she's the older child, and she's always, since she was a child, she adopted a role of protector, caregiver of not only her siblings, but of her parents. She feels like very responsible for taking care of even of her parents. And her parents are not elderly people, because I can understand that when our parents are elderly, we might adopt a role now of caregivers of our elderly parents. But that is not the case. But she's always felt responsible of keeping the peace, of taking care of her parents, of taking care of her siblings, even though now she lives with her boyfriend. She still is sending money, calling every day. Please buy my mother her medicine. Please, okay, yes, here, have some money for this food, or have some money to take the cat to the vet, and all that. But in that equation, she forgot to include herself. And the result has been that now, instead of paying her credit cards, she gives them the money. Instead of taking care of her own well-being, she takes care of them. And where are you in this equation? And it was a role that she brought on herself.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's another of the elements that sometimes come in the way of the reframing, the fear. What are they going to say if I subtract the help? Are they going to love me? Am I going to be the bad one?
Social acceptance.
What's going to happen to them? What if my mother dies because I didn't help her? The guilt.
She's not God.
That's what I'm trying to explain to her. That is what I'm trying to
So
help
Pili and Alessandra, I'm just, and Jemin and Rashmi, others can add into this. Many a times we've spoken culturally, right? People in India are not assertive enough to say a no on the face, right? And I'm sure it's the case of helping a family member across the world in terms of compassion and love and kindness. But that could also be one of the drivers, in my opinion, right? Where you don't want to be, you want to be an angel for everybody, even if your life ends up to become a mess, right? And you probably feel that you may be forced to step down the social ladder in terms of, hey, this person is no more, that guy who used to help me solve my problems, or the go-to person. That fear of losing that title may also be in the mind of the person. And culturally, like I mentioned, you may be someone who goes out of the way to help people, and people know about it, so naturally they come back to you, right? It's a vicious cycle, right?
Oh, indeed. And that also has to do with the self-concept and the identity of the person. Because of the case that Alessandra just put forth, it's her identity. The role she places her identity. So
Absolutely.
Reframing that needs to
and
shape her identity as well. And that can create for the patient a personality imbalance that, was I wrong? Was I right? And accepting the way that other people abused you, that makes you feel like a fool, to say the least.
And that's
so feeling
another
like
thing we're working on.
Balance and the identity part of the reframing, because it's sort of easy to reframe your relationship with a coworker. The coworker hopefully won't be there forever, or you won't be there forever putting up with this person. But when you take something that has to do with who you are and the way other people perceive you, it was very hard. I remember myself when I was in college, that I I had to put my foot down because I was a solving person. I solved everybody's. I was there for everyone. I would sacrifice everything because I was taught out of my mother's expectation that my role, my value as a woman was to be of service, was to be available, was to be, and culture also has a lot to do there. So the day I
Absolutely.
said, oh, get out of here, I'm killing myself. I'm killing my core. I'm killing what I want to be, who I want to be, because I'm putting up with that because you imposed on me this responsibility that I was too young to manage it. I grew inside that mold to become that person, but now I am bigger of this topper where you're pushing me in. You know, I'm inside a topper. I need to just explode the lid and get out of there and get my own shape. And it has a lot to do with reframing your identity, which can be quite exciting if we know the possibility of what can happen there. And just open the what if.
Mm-hmm.
What if I could become, and who do you admire? What if I could be of this assistance? What if I could be free from this oppression, this constant discomfort? Because she's always going to fall short. She won't be
Mm-hmm.
able to please the people as they want to be pleased. She's setting herself for failure. I know I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So the reframing and the identity are it's quite an interesting.
Yeah.
You have a lot in your hands, and
Oh,
so this.
trust me, this is a challenging case. And yes, we're working on reframing a lot of things, start and learning different perspectives, starting with what she can control and what she can't control. And yes, of course, we're also starting to try to get her to reframe her core beliefs that she's dumb, that she's not worth it, that everything she does is wrong, blah, blah, blah.
That if she
We're
doesn't do
barely,
something, then they are going to leave her. That her
all those
value is
things.
in what she gives, not what she is.
Hmm. And
Oh,
that
what
is
a
not
culture with all my heart.
counting. Hmm. So, uh, yesterday, I think it finally dawned on her that buying herself something nice or having something good for herself doesn't mean that something bad has to happen to her family. Because she still had that belief that, oh, I bought myself a new cell phone and that's why my brother got COVID. No, girl. Your brother got COVID because he went to a
Out.
wedding in another town and did not take care of himself.
Yeah, but I mean, because I've been there, and like many of us, it's okay for us to tell this, right? But in the beginning of the discussion, as Pilar mentioned, so today, for example, let's take me as an example. Yeah, let's start with that. So if I feel guilty of doing something for my own, with always this gravity of say family, for example, that I need to take care of them. They always come before me for everything that I do. And I'm not that successful that I can meet their needs, my needs always. So there is always a sacrificing line. So I suffer always. Say it's just an example, right? So with that as a picture, right? For me, the gravity becomes so big that I cannot even start to come to the grounds that I need reframing, because the very reframing itself is my anxiety, is my depression, right? So when we say the question, but say, Jemin, you are not God, you cannot control this. And I say, yes, I know, and that's why I'm stressed. What are you telling me? Or, no, go buy yourself something, it's okay. And I say, I know it's okay, but I can't do it. What are you telling me to do? Right? And I know I'm in this mess, right? I know I can't control things, right? I know I should not be trying to control things, right? And then there is this a very subtle, I don't know if it can come under the umbrella of pride, but there is this very subtle angle of one of the cognitive distortions or biases where, you know, with this situation, me being right means I have to suffer. Because if I'm not right. So I have to cry my heart out, or I have to suppress my expressions, or I have to suppress my anger and be with it because I'm doing the right thing. And now the question arises is, and not at a third person perspective as for me. So I always inquire that when somebody is in such a gravity of situation, how do you even start? How do you even come to terms that, yes, you need reframing? Because the reframing is the anxiety, is the depression, is the anger, is the issue. I know I should be doing it, but XYZ reason, I cannot. And that when a person has that gravity of feelings, and when I talk to some of the people, they tell me, what are you telling me? Thoughts and I don't have the energy in my hands, in my legs. I just don't have the energy, right? As if the gravity has gone 4 folds on me now. Now, what do you do? How do you ourselves? How do I take that next first step? What's the first step then? Is self-compassion the first step? Or, and again, what does that mean in such a situation to be self-compassionate? Because if I listen people saying self-compassionate, I feel I'm being selfish, and that guilt, and that the trip is starting anyways again.
Well, we're cleaning surfaces, Jemin.
Yes.
Just think about the kitchen table.
Yes.
We think of the situation as a kitchen table, and everything is there. We have the dirty dishes, the clean dishes, the food, whatever you have in your kitchen table. You cannot clean it until you take all the things out of there and put them where they belong. You cannot clean until everything is where it belongs. You first need to unclutter everything that is there. So maybe a good step is to start steaming off in the most positive possible way the emotion. How do you feel? And elaborate about your feeling until the emotion comes out. If you need to scream, if you need to cry, if you need to insult, if you need to whatever, you need to create a space for the emotion to go out, because once the emotion is go out, you can have the clean dishes and put them in the shelf. You can have the dirty dishes and put them in the sink. You can put the things in the refrigerator or wherever it is. And when you start having the space in your heart, this box of emotions I was talking about earlier, once the box is open, that you untie the knot and the box opens like a Christmas present, then the thoughts stop bouncing and you can start doing things. But you need to let out the emotion first.
Yes.
And you need to recognize it, and you need to understand that you got there. Why? Who cares?
Who cares? The very CBT approach. Yeah.
It was not one reason. Just it's like counting the grains of the sand to get to the reason behind it. You're never going to finish. There is always something that is going to have happened in 1974 that is going to get in your way. I mean, to say something going back in time.
Yes.
So clean the table. Get emotions out of there. Once the emotions are out, okay, this is how you're feeling. You know what? You have every right to feel that way.
Yes.
You're right. Do you feel anything else? Because maybe there is an emotion covering an emotion that is covering an emotion that is covering something else.
Yes.
But the onion, you go one how do you say capa, Alejandra?
Layer.
Alessandra.
Layers.
One layer, thank you, one layer at a time with the onion.
Yes.
Not counting
Otherwise it's depressing. It's never going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Are you angry because you are depressed? Are you angry because you didn't have a space? Are you sad because you feel you were ripped off?
Yes.
And this happened to me with my students in May, who wanted to have the graduation
And
from high school, but they couldn't because it was the COVID. So one of them was crushed. She had lost 15 kilos to fit in the dress. She had been saving for that dress for 2 years. Another one, all his family was coming. Their family is very humble. They come from another state. He has a scholarship. And he was the first person in his family history to finish high school. And it was also the year that his grandma was turning 90, and all the family was coming together, and the whole family got ripped off from that party. He still graduated high school, but the event, the expectations of the event, the love, the care, the time, the dreams, everything they had done to celebrate
they had
this
to go through a
super,
grieving process.
because, and it's the whole family about it. And part of the family is angry, and the other part is here, and God, do you hate me, you horrible God? I mean, where do you stand there? Who do you blame? Do you blame the president because he was irresponsible with his management of the crisis? Do you get with the Chinese because supposedly they are the masterminds behind the virus? Do you get angry with nature because it mutated into a virus? What do you do? Who do you blame? You are helpless. You are ripped off and you are forced into an emotion or a series of emotions that you didn't ask for. I mean, I don't think either of us asked for the difficult times in our lives. We didn't. But we had to face them, and we had to reframe, and here we can start reframing. We can have a chapter: reframing your guilt, reframing your shame, reframing your anger, reframing your stupidity, reframing
your fear.
I say stupidity because sometimes we are there. We do stupid
A lot of stupid stuff. I need reframing on my stupidity for sure.
I mean, a little bit of humor because we're getting into deep waters here, but
yeah, but that's the first step, right? Just to conclude, sorry, KL, just to conclude, right? The first step, and this is something which people, at least I have missed out in my life completely. The very, very first step is to let the inside blossom out fully. As you say, we need to have that dirty plates picked up from the table. Let it blossom out. If there is anger, if there is guilt, if you need to do something to feel better out of your emotion, if there is anything that you need to steam out first to create that space that needs to look at reframing properly, it's okay, right? And there you need to be compassionate to yourself. You need to be non-judgmental to yourself, because you may land up doing some stupid stuff there, but that's okay. That is needed to as a flower to blossom out completely. And at the peak of that flower, that's a beautiful stuff. It's out there. The next thing is it'll wither away, and that gives the space needed to start looking at things. And this is where I think we as individuals, and maybe in our capacities as counselors, I think this is one of the most important part, to recognize the need for that thing to blossom away first, completely bloom up, and only then try to go towards telling myself I need to start, okay, now do I have guilt? Now do I need to peel the onion? No, it's okay. Cry your heart out and then start about everything else. So I think that process is extremely important. And in my personal thing, I think if that process is done properly, then it doesn't matter what the content of the thought was. Was it anger? Was it depression? Was it blaming, guilt? Doesn't matter. Because if you now see without the content, the entire process once, now you get a very nice toolkit in your hand to try and handle all the rest of it. So it's looking at the process of the thing rather than the content of it. And that makes it very beautiful. But sorry, KL, I didn't want to speak over you. I think I'm done with what I wanted to tell.
No, absolutely. And, what I was just wanting to add to that, Jemin, was, in all this, I think communication also will play a key role in my understanding, because what happens is that feeling of guilt, let us say, when you refuse to accommodate somebody's request, right? Maybe something which is just in your mind versus the requester's mind, right? The person may have actually moved on. It could be a shorthand loan, or it could be a favor, and and sometimes you still carry that guilt that you did not accommodate the person, but that person may have moved on. So I think communication plays key, so that it doesn't stay in the mind of everybody, and you're clear as to why you said a no, instead of continuing to be less assertive and just accept whatever is requested. I just wanted to add that.
Oh, indeed. And now the last part of the when you are reframing, how would you choose to manage your self-judgment? Because usually when we reframe something, it's because we're judging ourselves. So if we're reframing and we need to create a compass, what do I need? I need peace of mind because I want my happiness, because I want my fulfillment. And this self-judgment has to do with appreciating ourselves, judging the good things, not where we fell short. So my self-judgment, what did I do right? I know what I do wrong. I'm not going to continue that conversation. It's driving me crazy. So what can I do to provide myself with self-judgment of praise? When am I going to understand the gift of giving up? I can do this. You cannot do this. Awesome. You recognize you cannot do this. Then this is not yours. Why are you trying to fix it? But it affected me. What affected you, that is yours, that you can work with. So giving up, I cannot do this. Giving up a thing, giving up a habit, giving up an attitude, giving up people. There is a play here in Mexico that is very, very famous, that is called A Vivir, to live. And in a part of the story is about a boy who had a very hippie mom who was very extreme in her loving ways and did a number of things. And the mother, in a certain point of the play, tells the boy, you know what? Your life is your movie. You should do some casting. Don't hire every idiot. Choose your actors wisely. There's some people who deserve no role in your story. Kick them out. So doing a casting of people. What is the role that I am giving you in my life? What is the power I'm giving you? Am I giving you my time? Am I giving you my emotions? Am I giving you things that you are not appreciating? If you're not appreciating, you know what? Go away. You are not good enough for me. And changing the discourse of the self-judgment to, okay, who am I? I am worthy. I am worthy of many things. Maybe I was taught I wasn't. Maybe I was stuck in a relationship with a person because I was too young, or I was with a lot of expectations. And love usually destroys the things it makes up.
Personalized love.
Hmm?
The personalized love. Not the compassion and not the love of the trees and others that we spoke about. And that's where I said we have smudged the meaning of love, right? When it's my love for you and I say I love your shoes, right? I mean, you think about that. We have smudged the meaning of love. It cannot be personal in nature. And that, yes, destroys things.
So the last part of reframing, what you do with your self-judgment. How are you going to reframe that to help you in your self-perspective, in who you are, in how you manage fear, in accepting the emotions, in being compassionate, in asking your questions, in exploring your book. And if your book is bad, rip off those pages that don't work and rewrite the things you want to read there. We have the right. And knowing that we have the right to change and forgiving us for the time we lost, because that is something that is, for me, it's hard. The time I lost with doing this thing that took me nowhere, being with this person who was horrible, whatever it is, the time lost. Okay, it wasn't lost because your love put it together. Your love needed that space. All the expressions of Alessandra's patient have to do with all the love that is rotting inside her and that she doesn't know how to let go, and she just throws it away. and we have to be wiser there. She has to reframe her love. She'll get there. But first she needs to clean that kitchen table. And I guess that's all I wanted to say. I don't know about you.
But to your last point, I think I'm still waiting for one answer, which is I have reframed and reframed bad again. So, you know, the very point of the judgment and non-judgmental. I mean, it's we use those terms. So at least for me, it is such a big mountain to climb, or not. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing things harder, but it can be simpler. But really looking at why, I think the key is the source from which, or the space, let me put it the better way, the space from which you are doing the reframing. Because if the space is not clean, if the table is not clean enough for your reframing, you will end up doing bad furniture and bad dishes even further, maybe with reframing. It's only a matter of time, it explodes again and you are on another bomb, right? So this really the space of this non-judgment, and non-judgment for me, it's really the zenith of things. But even the holistic, compassionate judgment from where you need to take reframing, it's easier said than done. It's and more often than not in my experience, reframing then becomes like a teenage love rebound. Yeah. So I need to be happy after this breakup. I get another girlfriend as fast as possible. I just jump on the next one, and then it's another time bomb. Yeah. So that's the fun element around that reframing. I wanted to say that the space from where you reframe is extremely important. And personally for me, it's one of the places where I do a lot of introspection in seeing if the judgment and the space, is it the clean space from where I'm reframing. That's the hard nut to crack for me.